Hey, what's up, everybody? True Boxing here. Thank you for coming back to Get Hit with the Truth. So today we are doing the What's Next on O'Shaquie Foster, the reigning WBC super featherweight champion of the world at 130 pounds, following a hard-fought 12-round split decision victory over Abraham Supernova when they competed in February on ESPN. Now, before we get into that, if you could smash the like button, leave a comment, or subscribe to the channel, I really do appreciate any and all support that I can get as I continue to build my channel here. So for Foster, this is a good, solid win. He had to, again, you know, he had to work hard in the second half of the fight to pull it out, but the guy's stamina, his ability to work hard, and how hard he wants to keep his world title is significant. So it was a good performance for him, and he moves forward as a champion. But that was an optional defense. So now it's unclear if the WBC is going to order him to make a mandatory defense against his top guy, Yakubov. The WBC, though, if you know, is always lenient if there's a bigger fight, or for instance a unification bout instead, you know, coming down the pike. So we'll see what happens with that. But let's run through the top 10 and see what the possibilities are for O'Shaquie Foster following that victory. Now, first off, let's talk about a rematch with Nova. I don't think that brings enough to the table in terms of, you know, name recognition. I don't think it was, how do I say this? I don't think the demand is going to be there, if that makes sense. That's in short right there. Nova's not a big time name. Foster really isn't a big time name, and it wasn't one of those barn burners. It was a good fight, but it wasn't one of those barn burners to where it's categorically has to have a rematch. So we'll see. But starting with the guys in the top 10, we start with number 1, the reigning WBO champion, Emmanuel Navarrete. I don't see this one, even though they're both at top rank. I'm not seeing it just because Navarrete is moving up to 135 to fight Dennis Beriancek for the WBO title there. Win or lose, if he wins, he stays at 135 in my opinion. If he loses, I don't think he's going to want to come back down and try to unify belts next. He could. It is a possibility, but if he loses, I don't think he'd be back until towards the end of the year, and I think Foster's going to return before that. So I don't see this one as a possibility right now. Then you got Robson Conceição sitting there at number 2. The WB, you know, a former world title challenger, a 3-time world title challenger. He just gave Navarrete a run for his money and suffered a, you know, and came up short by draw. So I really believe that that he could be a possibility here because they're both with top rank. I think it's an easy fight to make, but will Bob Arum pull the trigger on it, especially ahead of a if he has to make a mandatory. If he doesn't have to make a mandatory defense, I absolutely believe Foster and Conceição is a big time possibility, because Conceição, like I said, has just come up short, but not by much. In his most recent fight against Navarrete, he lost by a draw, and Conceição is a number 2 contender in the WBC right now, so he's highly rated. Then there's Joe Cordina, the reigning IBF champion. Cordina isn't returning until May when he fights Anthony Cacace. I don't think the timeline works out for him and Foster, because they're going to be 3 months apart in terms of their fights. I think Cordina probably wouldn't want to fight until September, October of the year, and I don't think Foster would want to wait around that long again, especially when he has other options with top rank that he could take. So I'm leaning towards the less likely on this one, even though Cordina did say that he wants a unification bout next, and he's willing to even give up his belt if he cannot get a unification bout next. So I think it's a possibility, but I don't think it's likely to happen. Then there's, let me see, hold on. Keep it moving here. Then there's Shavkat Rakhimov. He just lost and got stopped in his home country against Eduardo Nunez. So I don't see Rakhimov being in the mix here. He's also with a different promotion, so I don't see this one. Then there's Lamont Roach Jr., the WBA champion. I could definitely see this one, but Roach has 2 mandatories due in the WBA. Now, the WBA and most governing bodies are okay with unification bouts taking priority over mandatory fights. But I really believe Roach is probably going to get one of his mandatories out of the way first, and then maybe him and Foster can focus on each other in the second half of the year in a unification bout. But we'll see. It might make more sense for him to fight Foster next. So I'm hoping to hear some news soon on if this one is a possibility. Then there's former champ Hector Luis Garcia. He is out of in my opinion, he's out of the mix. You know, he's coming off back-to-back losses, albeit controversial in the last one against Roach. But he's also a PBC guy, and I don't see Foster and the PBC working together, Top Rank and the PBC working together for this one. Then there's Oscar Valdez. This one definitely could be possible if Valdez isn't fighting for the WBO title next, because they're both with Top Rank. It's a fight that makes sense, but I think a lot of people want to see if the fight with Liam Wilson, if that's a true final eliminator to determine an interim champion for Navarrete's belt. I think the WBO should make that an interim title fight. That way the winner can get a crack, or the winner is in line to be upgraded to full champion if Navarrete decides to stay at 135 and give up his belt at 130. Then it makes the prospect of a showdown with O'Shaquie Foster very possible for the second half of the year. So we just have to see how the Navarrete situation plays out, but this definitely could be a real possibility. Then there's Mark Magsayo, another guy that's tied with the PBC, just made his debut at 130. I don't see it. I would love to see the fight, but I don't see it happening next. And then there's Edward Vasquez, the former world title challenger. I mean, you never know. He gave Joe Cordina a run for his money, but he's also, I think he's tied with DAZN and all them. And I just don't know if Foster, it might be a high risk, low reward, almost taking a step back type fight. I mean, the only way I could see him fighting Vasquez is if he's trying to one-up Joe Cordina and defeat Vasquez in a more decisive manner than Cordina did. So I'm leaning towards the less likely. So for Foster, I think there's definitely unification possibilities. The very real options that I see are either a mandatory defense against Yakubov, his #1 contender, or another optional defense against Robson Conceição. I really could see that one. So we just have to see how it plays out, but that's it. That's what I got. That's my what's next on O'Shaquie Foster, the reigning WBC super featherweight champion of the world at 130 pounds, following a hard-fought but deserving decision over Abraham Supernova in February on ESPN. I hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, smash the like button, leave a comment, or subscribe to the channel. I appreciate any and all support. This is True Boxing. You've been hit with the truth.